To understand the Cyprus problem, you have to understand the concept of sovereignty.
Here, in the Turkish Cypriot community, they learn one side of the story. In the Greek Cypriot side, they learn the other side of the story, and that's why we've been fighting for so long. I don't know, do you agree with this statement, or do you disagree? When do you think the root causes of the problem started?
Eoka time in 1963, 103 Turkish villages were burnt down. I remember 1963 when those crashes happened.
Come on, you're 3
in my
years
mind.
old.
Yes, I remember.
How you remember?
Yeah, I remember the planes flying and shooting, shouting, the terror. 22nd of July 74, Turkish Cypriots won their independence.
My uncle died.
I'm sorry about it.
So I have a bit different interpretation of history. You are just explaining the one side of the story. You didn't say anything that no Greek Cypriot died in this, no problem.
No, I didn't say that.
So it's like you are. Let me finish. It was a lot of attempts to solve this problem.
There were a number of attempts. The most well-known, the Annan Plan.
You didn't vote for Annan Plan, or you voted for Annan?
Against the Annan Plan.
Against.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you had said yes, then Cyprus would have been different by now.
For the good or for the
For
bad?
your good. For your good.
Erdogan, he supported the Annan Plan.
Turkey got involved and gave a message to the Turkish Cypriots that the best way forward would be to say yes to the plan. In 2017, there was Crans-Montana meeting to find a way forward. They said the game is over.
They said, fuck this shit.
This is very important.
Everyone in the Greek Cypriot community thinks of you as the Mr. Two-State solution. Now, I think it's time for you to explain me what is this vision of a two-state solution.
Some people say, oh, you cannot have two states within Cyprus, in the European Union. Yes, if they want, they can do it over one night. Over one night. Turkey would do its utmost to help the Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. They are prepared to give their water to the north and the south. Turkish ports will be open to all the Greek Cypriot ships, also the aerospace. It would be a win-win situation for all of us.
But one small island. You want it to be separate.
We have to be realistic.
A lot of the people say that you are a puppet of Erdogan. So what is your response? You are not independent.
I am independent.
But if someone pays for your bills and you are afraid for them to cut, my friend, I'm not telling you, understand, it's logical question now.
Logical question.
If you want to go against what Turkey say you can go against,
Obviously,
you like my president, Christodoulidis. What's your opinion about him?
he is not cooperating.
But he says also you are not cooperating with him.
Cyprus has never been as important as it is now because this region is very important, so critical. We are still living in such a world. Look at Gaza, look at Ukraine.
Let's go to Ukraine and Russia. Do you think there is any similarities to what happened here in our island?
I don't think there is a similarity.
Why? What is the difference then, if there is no similarity?
The Russians, for their own security, they wanted Crimea and other places in Ukraine and militaristic ambitions.
Like Turkey?
No, Turkey had no such plan. Turkey came in 1994.
With similar reasons they came. No, you know, my community, the Greek Cypriot community, they don't like you as much as
they don't know me. They don't know
leaders.
Me.
Like
if your community got to know me, they will like me even more than I can assure you of that.
So now you are speaking there to the Greek Cypriots. Speak to them. This podcast with Ersin Dadar, the leader of the Turkish Cypriot community, was the most difficult podcast I ever did. It's a very sensitive topic for my country, Cyprus, that this country elected me to be member of the European Parliament. And because I'm elected politician, to touch the Cyprus problem and speak with the leader of the Turkish Cypriot community, we know that this will bring a lot of backlash and a lot of people will not like this. But I think this is the right thing to do, to go and speak with the leader of this community and try to understand them better. Because without understanding of both sides, we cannot progress to a lasting solution. And that's why I took the decision to go and do this podcast. In the mainstream media in Cyprus, I was attacked because I did this. But I still think I did the right thing. I did this not because it was going to be popular. I knew I would get a lot of backlash. I did this because I think it was the right thing to do. and I will continue doing what I think is right, even if it's unpopular. I disagree with a lot of the things that Tatar said in this podcast, but still, I didn't interrupt him that much, and I didn't cut anything from what was said in this conversation. And you are going to see the full raw interview. Enjoy.
Go.
Okay. First question. Who are you?
I am Ersin Tatar of this land. I am a true Turkish Cypriot, born, raised, and basically I feel that I am a true Turkish Cypriot. Obviously I'm a Cypriot, but I'm a Turkish Cypriot. You know, there's a lot of discussion about that. Some people say we are Cypriots, okay. I'm a Cypriot, but I'm a Turkish Cypriot. I mean, there's a difference because I was born and raised here. My language, my religion, my culture, my background, my father, my mother, my grandfathers, and the generations before. The whole thing, it makes me a true Turkish Cypriot. And believe me, I am a Turkish Cypriot, and that's who I am. I mean, from time to time, I have so many challenges, so many discussions, so many, you know, I feel sometimes people hit at me, but I never, obviously, have any question about who I am. I'm a Turkish Cypriot, born, bred, raised in this land, in this geography. What makes my character is not only where I was born, obviously it makes a difference. It is important where you are born. I am born in Cyprus, but I am from a Turkish background, so I'm a Turkish Cypriot. And it's a unique character.
You know, I did hundreds of podcasts in my life. This is the only one that I was stressed about.
Don't be stressed.
You know, it's a very sensitive position to be here for me to interview you. A lot of things can go wrong, a lot of things, there is a lot of conflict between the two communities for a long time. But you know, what I thought is like, if we cannot sit down and talk, then how we're going to solve our problems in the future. So that's why I'm here, and I love you. Thank you for taking the time.
You are most welcome. You are most welcome.
Okay, so...
I mean, I appreciate what you've been doing as a young man, using the social media so bravely, so successfully, and getting to be an MP just using the social media without a party is really a big success. So I do congratulate you on your success.
Thank you. So you spoke a lot when I asked you, who are you, about that you are a Turkish Cypriot. Like, why you want so much to identify like this?
Because I wanted to give you a correct version.
A correct version.
Of a serious question, I mean, I have to do that.
But you didn't spoke about that. You've been to travel abroad, to study, about your successes in life and all this stuff. Who are you? You are the leader of this community. Like you only spoke that you are a Turkish Cypriot.
I thought it would follow that.
Okay.
I thought it would follow. Who are you? What have you done? Up to this age, I've done a lot of things. Let me tell you this, I have never stopped. I've always worked, and I'm still working. You know, a lot of people ask me, where do you find this energy? God's gift. You know, God has given me this life and the challenges and the energy that I find in myself, and I just do it because I believe in this country, I believe in my people, and I also enjoy what I do. If you don't enjoy what you do, you can't do it. So I've been working since I was a kid. I don't know what I was doing 2 or 3 years, but after that, I remember 1963, for example, when those clashes happened between the two communities. I remember.
Come on, you're 3
years
mind. Old.
Yes, I remember.
How you remember?
Yeah, I remember the planes flying and shooting, shouting, the terror, and I still feel grieved when I remember those days. So I don't want anybody to live that again. But we are still living in such a world. Look at Gaza. Look at Ukraine. They don't stop. They keep doing it. So I sometimes ask myself, we value so much our life, our children, our future. But at the end of the day, look at the world. World War I, World War II, and then all these in the last 100 years. Look at what happened in the last 100 years. Before that, God knows how many wars, how many people killed each other, big wars. This history has seen very big wars, how people can destroy each other just for their own cause, without thinking the other side. When you say the other side, they've got children, they've got young, the aged, and they're all prepared for their own interest, prepared to destroy the whole lot. Look at Russia-Ukraine war. That is something that is really tensing me. How do they do it? In this day and age, how do they do that? And they have caused so much death and poverty and so much catastrophe. So we shouldn't go through that again. Never again, never again.
So you mentioned a lot of things. You mentioned started briefly about the history of Cyprus. We're going to get into that as well later. We're going to get into, you said, about the conflicts in the world right now with the other countries that are having a war. But let's dig a bit more on this. What you did, you traveled, you went to university in the United Kingdom. Tell us more about you, how many children you have, because a lot of people, this is a global audience in Cyprus, to get to know you a bit more. Some weird things about you as well.
11 years old, I went to the English school. I was a Kitchener. I had a lot of Greek Cypriot friends. I still keep in touch with some of them. And then in 74, I went to the UK, United Kingdom. I went to a school called Forest School.
Why you went, like it was the time that you were about to go to the university?
I had two late uncles in London, and they called my father and said, send Ersin and Erhan, my brother, because you had a war there. We want to look after them. I lost my mother when I was 7 years old, so I don't know my mother. So
how did you lose your mother?
She was pregnant, but didn't go very well, and we lost her in 1968.
And now you have another, how many siblings?
My father got married to İsmet Hanım, so I got two of us, two from İsmet Hanım's first marriage, and we have a common sister, Havva.
Okay.
So we have a federal family.
Five
of us, yes. And then
federal family.
Yes. So then I went to London to a school, Forest School, and then after Forest School, I went to Jesus College, Cambridge, read economics. And then I joined a few banks, and then I went to Pricewaterhouse, became a chartered accountant in London with Pricewaterhouse, as you know, international firm. And then I worked for a number of banks, and then I worked for Asil Nadir. You remember Asil Nadir? He passed away a few months ago at his firm called Polypack. I had a lot of experience at the age of 26, 28.
How you got this position? You were very young to get a very important position in London.
I worked very hard.
Why? You gave some money to him?
How? He paid me money. I worked very hard. You see, after Cambridge, I became a chartered accountant. When I was 25, chartered accountant is important. As you know, you have chartered accountants in the South.
A lot. It's a big industry.
It's a good qualification. So with that, I managed to find these jobs. And then with Asil Nadir and Polypack was international public company. And then he had some trouble, so I came to Turkey and worked in a number of companies. Late 90s, I worked for a company called Show TV. I was the general manager of this big Turkish media company, including the TV and newspapers.
So this is where you understood how to manipulate the media?
Yes. I worked nearly 10 years there, and then I set up a channel here.
A channel, a TV channel?
Canal T. It's still,
okay.
I sold it, but it's still there. For 30 years, I had a channel here.
How much you sold it for?
Not a lot of money, but I got rid of the expenses. Every day, every month, I had to pay to the satellite more than $10,000. And I was tired. My wife was looking after it, but she also got tired, so we sold it to a good friend.
So you are not going to tell us how much? Or nobody knows how much?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Because we had debts, and he took over the debts.
Okay.
And he paid some money, but she wouldn't tell me how much she got, so I don't know. She declared it. She paid a lot of tax, so at net of tax, we haven't got much money. But at least I got rid of the debts.
Of the expenses
and
having
so
the...
yes, the headache.
How many people this company had?
About 50 people.
50 people.
Yeah.
So you've been managing people for a long time now.
Of course. And then I went into politics in 2000 years, 2001, 2002.
Exactly when I was born,
When were you born?
2000.
A few years after that, I joined Ulusal Birlik Party, United National Party here in the north. Then I became a member of parliament. I became Minister of Finance.
When did you become a member of parliament?
2009. Became a Minister of Finance for nearly 5 years. And then after that, I worked for the party as a member of parliament. And then I became the leader of the party through General Assembly. And then I became Prime Minister for 2 years. And then I became president. Now, nearly 5 years now, I'm the president.
And now there is upcoming elections.
In October.
Are you worried? Are you stressed?
If you are not worried, if you are not stressed, you might lose it. So I feel that, it's going to be a challenge, so we have to work hard. That's what I tell my colleagues, we have to work hard.
So now you are taking a equal time to run the run, or like it takes a lot of time for you to do campaigning and all this stuff, or no?
My job entails campaigning also, because when I do my job, I am always on the TV, I'm always in the public, I am always attending meetings. Like
so you've been campaigning for 5 years?
Yes, I'm tonight going to Azerbaijan for an international meeting. And I will be obviously saying a few things, and it will be all in the media. This morning, Colin Stewart was here, the representative of the United Nations General Secretary. We discussed with him the future meeting in New York, Christodolis, Greece, Turkey, and United Kingdom. They will be represented there. So it's all about being in public and sharing what you know, what you think with the public in general. So it's all a matter of doing your job, but sharing what you have with your public, with your people. So at the end of the day, the people will decide who to run for the next 5 years.
So what is the biggest challenge that you face in these 5 years, you think?
Well, we see, we are a state, as you might appreciate when you go around in the north. We have a state with all the institutions. We have our own parliament. We have our own courts. We have our own institutions. We have our own ministries. We have our own police. We have our own courts, municipalities. Whatever you have in any country, we have it in the north. And we are a different people, okay? We are Cypriots, but as I tell you, we are Turkish Cypriots. And it is our self-determination, right, that we govern ourselves. So it is a challenge, obviously, to be acknowledged. We have some political problems because, unfortunately for us, Republic of Cyprus, which was founded in 1960, and we are Turkish Cypriots co-founders of the Republic of Cyprus. There is no majority-minority connection here in this land. We have, when you look at the history and how things evolved, there are two peoples, Turkish Cypriots, Greek Cypriots. Don't look at the numbers. We have a lot of people who left the country and a lot of Greek Cypriots left the country. We have probably 300,000 in the UK, another 100,000 in Australia, but probably 500,000 in Turkey. So there is a Turkish Cypriot element as a
how many you think
previously
in
we
the
called
world?
more than 1 million.
More than a million? Living here because
Yes, 500,000.
500,000 Turkish Cypriots.
And our poet Behçet Kamal said, we have twice as many below the ground. Those people who left, those people who died, they have poems, they have music, they have this, they have that, and they're all around. So we are, the other side should appreciate this. We are a people, we are a Turkish Cypriot nation, quote. So we have to have the respect that we deserve, and we have to coexist in this area. Coexist.
As I
The word coexistence is very important.
As I understand, your biggest challenge is that the only country that recognizes you is Turkey. And that is what you explain. This is the challenge that I ask.
Political, diplomatic recognition, yes, Turkey. However, we have a lot of countries, Turkey countries, Pakistan, and a number of other countries who do have respect for us, who understand us, who have a lot of cultural, economic ties developed with North Cyprus. But when it comes to political recognition, obviously they have a problem because the United Nations still, the decision they took in 1964 that we only recognize the Republic of Cyprus until a solution, they will not recognize the Turkish Cypriot element. But however, it's been 62 years and we are still looking for a solution. Now this is difficult to explain because for the last 62 years, a number of comprehensive settlement programs have all been on the table, but we have not managed to reach an agreement.
So you are not hopeful for the future that we can find a solution.
We should always be hopeful. We should never lose our hope. However, Greek Cypriots should understand that if we are going to have just, viable, sustainable solution, they should respect the Turkish Cypriot element, that we deserve our sovereignty. Sovereignty is the key word. So we have a Greek Cypriot, sovereign people in the south, but you should also recognize that there is a sovereign people in the north, and we should know how to coexist, the north and the south together. If we can unite in this coexistence and learn how to live side by side in a neighborly relationship, especially in the European context, I hope one day we, as a different state, are also in Europe. Then in Europe, you can cross, you can buy land, you can build your own home, you can establish business.
I want you to explain me exactly what you think the two-state solution will look like, but later. I want first to understand, so everyone in the Greek Cypriot community thinks of you as the Mr. Two-State solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we want to understand also, like, how did you came up with this solution? And also, it was from a young age that you believe in this? Okay. How it evolved?
I have articles 30 years ago.
Explain us.
30 years ago, I have articles that the best way forward would be a two-state solution, because how things developed and evolved, Greek Cypriots, because they are the stronger community, because they have more in number and they have connections, and the 1964 decision, therefore they will never give up, and they will always want the Republic of Cyprus to continue, and the Turkish Cypriots somehow be kind of a part of the Republic of Cyprus as a minority. That's our fear. That's our discomfort. So to be able to coexist in a sustainable way, the two words that are important are coexistence and sustainability. Because it's no good, like in 1960, you have an agreement and after 3 years, everything down the road. So we have to have a sustainable solution. To find a sustainable solution, you have to satisfy both sides. To satisfy both sides, first, security, and the other one is being able to determine your own future. This community, Turkish Cypriots,
but you are starting to explain me how do you imagine it? But so 30 years ago, you had an article.
Yes.
You remember when you were 18, 17, 16, that you believed that this is, or no, when did you start shaping this opinion? Explain.
30. When I was 30 years old.
30 years old.
Because I used to listen to my father.
Before you used to listen to your father, what did your father say?
He said, we will never be able to share the Republic of Cyprus, because the Greek Cypriots think by and large that the Republic of Cyprus belongs to them. It's a unitary state. Whereas when it was founded in 1960, the understanding was that, as by the constitution, under which Makarios for the Greek Cypriots, Dr. Fadıl Küçük for the Turkish Cypriots. And it was what they call a functional federalism. Functional federalism. But the Greek Cypriots, with maybe some people from Greece, their pressure, because always, I don't know whether you appreciate this or not, but junta in Greece and their collaborators here, EOKA-B, always had in mind unification with Greece. EOKA, Enosis, unification with Greece has always been, according to us, the church's ultimate national aim. And therefore, the Turkish Cypriots always feared that. And in 1964, when things started going wrong, after the 63 events, it all came apparent that what was being done was with Krivas and the others coming from Greece, somehow unite Cyprus to Greece and create the big Greece empire. Because Greece roads, Crete, Eastern Mediterranean, with all these seas, and with Cyprus, as apparently from Greece, they called Cyprus the 13th island. Unification of Cyprus to Greece would have created, with the seas around, the big Greece empire. And Turkey was also very discomfortable with this because they didn't want to be surrendered by all these Greek sovereignty. And Turkey said, we will never let it go. We will always help these Turkish Cypriots. They are fighters, they are fighting for their own independence, and we will never allow, after the British rule, the island to be united to Greece. And that's how it all started. And now we have two states because of all this. If Greek Cypriots at the time did not have the ambition to unite Cyprus with Greece, Enosis, probably we wouldn't have had this. The Republic of Cyprus might have been a success story in the Eastern Mediterranean. Look at Singapore, look at Dubai. They are very rich, very prosperous, stability, economic progress, a lot of foreign investment, hotels, foreign companies, service industry with your accountants, with your lawyers. A lot of things could have been done. But unfortunately, in order to succeed that, we wanted to unite Cyprus to Greece, and all these things happened. And on the 15th of July, 74, as you know, junta and the collaborators here, they overthrew Makarios. They overthrew Makarios, can you imagine? Coup d'etat. Look, in the history of Cyprus, one of the most tragic days, not the 20th of July. 20th of July is a victory for Turkish Cypriots because 20th of July, 74, Turkish Cypriots won their independence. We became...
My uncle died.
I'm sorry
So I have a bit different interpretation of history, but I'm here to understand you, not to say...
We also lost a lot of people. I'm sorry for them. I'm sorry for you, and I share your condolences. But what I'm saying is, what went wrong is on the 15th of July 74, when they did a coup d'etat, junta in Greece, and their collaborators, EOKB, they overthrew Makarios with a view, Samson and the others, to unite Cyprus to Greece.
We are going to get there, but since you like history and you got into the history topic, let's forget the other stuff and let's get to the history topic. When do you think the root causes of the problem started? What time? 1950, 90? When you think they started the conflict?
During the British times, the EOKA movement, according to them, the British should leave the island and Cyprus should be united with Greece. But Turkey got involved because Turkey said, we lease the island not to Greece, we lease the island to British. So if the British are going to go, we will not let the island be united with Greece. We will do something else. And they had in mind, at the time, Taksim, dividing the island for the sake of Turkish Cypriots, because also Turkey, for her own security, for her own military interests, also wanted a Turkish element in the north. And we Turkish Cypriots also, obviously, we wanted to survive in security and in stability here in Cyprus. So we fought. We fought and we suffered. We moved 3 times. We migrated 3 times in the island. Here from.
You mean on the EOKA time?
Yes, EOKA time in 1966, 103 Turkish villages were burnt down. 103 Turkish villages, and half of the Turkish population had to move around, and at least a third were living in tents in Nicosia for years, under tents, with no salary, with no money, very poor in all the difficulties of life. But we survived. And on the 15th of July, 74, when coup d'etat against Makarios, that gave us a chance. Denktash asked Turkey to take this opportunity to come in, because as a guarantor power in 1960 agreement, Turkey had the right to intervene because the constitution was broken down on the 15th of July. So with the constitution broken down, with the coup d'etat, Turkey used the opportunity to come in, and then a new age started, a new page started in Cyprus after 20th of July, 1974. And that was obviously our savior. Turkish Cypriots became much more obviously independent. And since then, we have been living in the north, obviously, with no fear of security, which is very important for Turkish Cypriots.
So you allow me to express myself how I think. So, you are just explaining kind of the one side of the story, and I think you didn't say anything that no Greek Cypriot died in this, no problem.
I didn't say that.
So let me finish. So I think this is kind of the problem, that I'm a new politician. I don't have these biases, tell me, nobody controls me. I'm just here as an independent thing and trying to find out myself. So I think the problem here that we have is like there is two sides of the story and nobody learns both of the sides of the story. Here in this community, in the Turkish Cypriot community, they learn one side of the story. In the Greek Cypriot side, they learn the other side of the story, and that's why we kind of fighting for so long. I don't know. Do you agree with this statement, or you disagree?
Obviously, Greek Cypriots also suffered. I cannot say otherwise. I mean, a lot of Greek Cypriots who lost their dear family and had to move to the south. Yes, but Turkish Cypriots suffered for years before 74. Before 74, suffering Turkish Cypriots. You have no Greek Cypriots. Here and there might be, but 99% of the suffering before 1974 was Turkish Cypriots. Believe you me, Turkish Cypriots were taken from their own homes, from their gardens, from their working place, and taken and...
So you agree with me, it's both of the communities that suffer. It's not a competition now, who suffered more.
You have to
but
understand,
we need to acknowledge both of them.
You have to understand, this is very important. Turkish Cypriots suffered before 74. Greek Cypriots did not suffer before 74.
They did suffer. There is a lot of deaths and missing people from before as well.
After 74?
No, on there is from 63 as well, that the missing people from...
Very few, because
don't dismiss them like
Turkish Cypriots were being attacked. You look at the history, if you look at the history, you will find that before 74, it was the Turkish Cypriots who were being attacked. In 1974, when the Turkish army came in, the balance started to change because obviously Turkey came. Turkey, according to us, intervened because of the 1960 constitution. Turkey had the right to come in, to intervene as a guarantor power. Britain didn't. Britain just watched from the bases. I mean, Britain could have also intervened because Britain, United Kingdom, is also still a guarantor power, but they prefer to watch.
Okay, let's go past from 74 a bit the history, because the history didn't start. It was after 74. Let's talk about how this conflict evolved. Do you think it was a lot of attempts to solve this problem and all this stuff? Do you think what was the attempts that was successful? What was the attempts?
There were a number of attempts.
A lot of time.
United Nations comprehensive settlement proposals. Since I was a young chap, I remember. A lot of names came. United Nations Secretary Generals. They all had plans. Perez de Cuellar. You were not born then. Before you were born, he was there, and a few others. But the most well-known, the Annan Plan. 20 years ago, 2004-5, the Annan Plan. That was a serious plan. It took 2 or 3 years to be read about.
You didn't vote for Annan Plan, or you voted for Annan?
Against the Annan Plan.
Against
yes.
The Annan Plan.
I was in the 35% with Denktaş, Eroğlu, and my
party. You didn't like the solution?
Well, I feared that the Turkish Cypriots would, at the end of the day, would lose out. I feared. That's how we felt. However, as you know, 65% of the Turkish Cypriots said yes, because Turkish Cypriots, by and large, were frustrated with the situation, and they wanted at any cost to find a solution to the Cyprus problem, so that we are with the international community as it were. Now we are under embargo, still under embargoes. We are fed up with these embargoes. So my people, by and large, 65%, and I respect them. They said 65%, yes. But the Greek Cypriots, 76% said no to the plan. And when it first...
What is your assessment why the Greek Cypriots said no?
Because
they didn't have any motivation. What is the...
Because the Europeans, the European Union, somehow, I don't know how it happened, they said to the Greek Cypriots, accept it or don't accept it. It doesn't matter, you will be a member of the European Union. So the Greek Cypriots said, we will be in the European Union anyway, so they prefer to say no. If the question had been, say yes, and then become a member of the European Union, probably you would have said yes.
So I spoke a lot of times with Ozdil Namin. Ozdil Namin was the negotiator for a lot of years.
I know him.
And he says similar things. There is no consequence. There is no motivation for the Greek Cypriots to say
so
yes.
They said no. 76% said no. But if you had said yes, then Cyprus would have been different by now.
For the good or for the
for
bad?
Your good. For your good.
For the Turkish Cypriot community?
No. Look, this is my own idea, my own conviction, that it would have been good for the Greek Cypriots. Because the island would have been in Europe, united. Okay, the Turkish Cypriots would have had some rights. They stay in the north, but the stay in the north would not have been as much sovereign as I would have liked to have seen it. It would have had some sovereignty rights, but not to the extent that would have satisfied me. And also, after some years, because Turkey is still not in Europe, and I don't know when Turkey will be in Europe. When Turkey is outside of Europe...
I don't know as well, it's a bit difficult.
Okay, but Greece is in Europe. Cyprus would have been in Europe, united as it were. And according to me and my friends who discussed these things at top level politically, they would have been effectively in OSIS. Because Greece and Cyprus in the European Union, with no restriction to migration, capital, investment, all kind of things, as you know, free in the European Union.
If you think we were going to be an oasis, then why you voted against it? It's crazy.
No, I don't want Enosis. Enosis is
not Enosis, like the Annan plan. You said it would be an oasis. Not Enosis, oasis. You said that.
No, I don't.
Oh, you didn't say oasis. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, you misunderstood me. So basically, it would have been in your interest to have said yes to the Annan plan. That's my
and to
idea.
To summarize, to the Turkish Cypriots.
In the long run, the Turkish Cypriots would have lost out.
In the long
run, the Turkish Cypriots would have lost out. Because I believe, always for my own people, Turkey should also have a say. Because Turkey is my guarantor power, my motherland, and some troops on the island is safeguard all my security, which is very important for me. As a young boy, I remember what I went through, the fear. Me and my family and the others, how we were, because we didn't have the protection, the security. Very important. And I believe very much this security also reflects very positively on the Greek Cypriots.
EU regulations and all this stuff will protect it.
You believe that? You believe that? Do you really believe that? As a young, very successful, now member of parliament, do you really believe that the European way of security would have safeguarded the interests of the Turkish Cypriots in this complicated island? Do you really believe that? Give me an honest answer.
I think so. Maybe, okay, let me explain. Because like 60% of the regulations that we have in Cyprus comes from Europe. So, and we are forced to comply. And we'll have punishments if we don't and all this stuff. So kind of Europe is not perfect. I'm sorry, it's not perfect. But
what will happen in Europe after 50 years? Can you guess? I cannot guess.
I cannot guess as well. Let's hope for the best.
Hope for the best. But I want more than a hope. After what I've been through, what I've lived through at my age, I want more than a hope. I want guarantee. I want something solid.
Okay, now I think it's time for you to explain me what is this vision of a two-state solution? How do you envision it? Mr.
Coexistence on this island.
But you-
Coexistence. Look, my vision.
Explain.
I have a lot of people who can criticize me, but knowing my people's way of life, our secularism, our way of life, family life, Turkish Cypriots, we are, as a character, quite European. We are Turkish Cypriots. We are very obviously connected to Turkey, our motherland, for a lot of reasons. Our culture, our religion, our language, our roots, our traditions. We are very much Turkish in that way. But I believe that as a character, way of life, we are also Europeans. And European mechanisms, yes, do work very well. So I hope that one day, as a sovereign state, the Turkish Cypriot state, sovereign state, is also a member of the European Union, and they can very easily design that. Some people say, oh, you cannot have two states within Cyprus in the European Union. Yes, if they want, they can do it over one night, because we have all the elements necessary. We have our own territory, we have our own democracy, we have our own people with our own ethnicity, different culture, religion, language, whatever. And also, we have connections. So it qualifies us to be a different sovereign state. But in this beautiful island, in the Eastern Mediterranean, I want to have a neighborly relationship with my Greek Cypriot friends. And if we are both in the European Union, with security arrangements, and with some Turkish element, obviously, because Turkey is a guarantor power. Turkey has come troops on the island for all security. Turkish troops, the security that they provide is also a security for you. Because if you don't have this comfort and there's crash, this would not only reflect on the Turkish Cypriot, it would reflect negatively on you also. So we want to have a set of arrangement. Maybe we will call it new set of affairs. New set of affairs where we can coexist, but be in the European Union together and enjoy all the virtues of the European Union with the security arrangements that we all deserve, so that next generation lives in a much more prosperous, more stable country, the island of Cyprus. Further, Turkey has always said that if we are going to have stability in the Eastern Mediterranean, and with their relationship with Greece, a lot of common interests in the agency and the seas around, Turkey would do its utmost to help the Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. And I'm sure that they are sincere, because they are prepared to give their water to the north and the south, because as you know, from the Taurus Mountains, we have a lot of water flowing into the sea still. We have some of it. They said we can put another pipe, maybe another 2 pipes, and provide the water to Cyprus in this global warming climate where we have shortage of water, and connect with a cable, and we can have sustainable, at a much better cost, electricity, energy. And if we have peace, if we have stability, if we have a settlement, Turkish ports will be open to all the Greek Cypriot ships. As you know, you have a lot of ships, you have a very strong fleet, and you would enjoy not only Turkish ports and the business with it, also the airspace. At the moment, because Turkey is not recognizing the Republic of Cyprus, all the planes coming from Far East Russia, they have to go through Athens and down to Larnaca. So it would be something really a win-win situation for all of us in this prosperous island, with a lot of investment opportunities in the future for our next generation, I think.
So you want the two communities to start cooperating and for all their barcodes to lift and all this stuff. But this is you getting everything you imagine. But this is, I'm asking you. You asked me before. Do I believe in this utopia? I'm asking you, do you believe it that this is possible?
Of course it's possible. So long as if you wake up one morning and you say, these Turkish Cypriots in the north, they are also Cypriots and they deserve to enjoy the virtues of this island as much as we do, and let's respect them, let's give our hand to them, we can all succeed together. Win-win situation. It's so easy because we have all the infrastructure for it. Look, if we didn't have all this after 74, you there, I here, we would have still had a lot of problems to discuss. Now, at least we have our own state of affairs, our own government, our own parliament, our own municipalities, our district, and that. So you don't have to basically discuss all these problems. How we are going to share the resources with the Turkey? Look, this is very important. To share is a problem. In a family, you have some production. How do you distribute between the daughter and the son? Problem. Now we have been separated, okay? I have to look after my own affairs. You look after your affairs. I'm not involved in your municipalities. You are not involved in my municipalities. I get on with my own affairs. I've got Turkey, my motherland, helping me with anything that I need. Turkey has billions of dollars of investment here. Look, since this is another important thing I'm telling you.
How many billions do you
I
think
don't know.
in a year?
Every year there is constantly Turkish assistance and financial
much?
aid, at least $500 million.
$500 billion.
No, $500 million.
$500 million.
Every year. The water project, we call it
You
the
mean
project.
directly from the government?
Yes. For our roads, for our hospitals, for the budget deficit. Constantly, military expenditures is not in this number. Military expenditure to keep the army for our peace and for our security, that I don't know what the cost of that is.
You don't know it? Come on.
What
It's a secret you don't want to tell me.
What the cost of maintaining so many troops on the island for the Turkish army, I don't know. What I can
You
tell
don't know?
I don't know.
You are afraid to tell me?
I don't know.
Come on. Okay.
So basically, what I'm telling you, we have done a lot.
But
For
one,
the- for-
it's one
but
small
what-
island.
what-
One small
yeah.
island. You want it to be separate. It's if we cannot talk
We have to be
together.
realistic. We have to be realistic. Unless you are realistic and you just live in a dream world, you never get there. You have to be realistic. You have to look at the ground, what we say. What does the ground tell you? Turkish Cypriots are here, Greek Cypriots are here. Okay? But if we can be in the European Union, then we can all coexist together. Because in the European Union, you can cross the border, you can buy this, you can buy that. I can work in Limassol, you can work in Karina. We can create all sorts of new arrangements where we can coexist with European values, but also have the security. Because at the end of the day, as we can see in all these other countries at the moment where they're fighting each other, security is the most crucial element of one's comfort. If you don't have security, nobody's comfortable.
You mentioned again the other wars. Let's go to Ukraine and Russia. Do you think there is any similarities to what happened here in our island?
To where? Ukraine? Well, Russia, the European Union, the America, and they got stuck in the middle. So I don't think there is a similarity. Here, it's something else.
What is the difference?
Here, you got the Turkish Cypriots, you got the Greek Cypriots.
You have Turkey, Greece.
Greek Cypriots. Somehow, in the past, some elements in Greece, they got you too excited that Cyprus should be united with Greece. I think Cyprus joining Greece would have only helped Greece become a big empire from Greece all the way here. There were some, maybe church, maybe some military people thinking that, and they used you. On 15th July 74, they are the main perpetrators. I don't think it was so much Makarios and the Greek Cypriots. Perpetrators from Greece that they created those conditions and they moved in, coup d'etat, overthrowing Makarios. Makarios also believed in maybe Hellenism, to make Cyprus a Hellenic island. I have to say this. I mean, Makarios, with his robes, he was a clever man, clergyman, but he also believed that the whole island should be Hellenic. He didn't believe that the island should have belonged to both communities, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. They all believed from their history that this is a Hellenic island and it should be purely Greek. Turkish Cypriots, just a minority. Turkish Cypriots never accepted to be a minority because when you look at our history, remember this island was part of the Ottoman Empire for 350 years. From 1571 until 1923, Lausanne Agreement. For 350 years, this island was an Ottoman Empire, basically governed by the Turks, and the Turkish Cypriots were here, in a way, masters of the island. And after 1875, a lot of Turks went back because of the English rule. Greek Cypriot population in 1878 was about 90 to 100,000. By 1960, when the British left, Greek Cypriot population was more than 400,000. So what happened was in that 80 to 90 years. But that doesn't mean that because we moved out that we forgot our own land. Every Turkish Cypriot, wherever he is, whether he is in Turkey, whether he or she is in the UK, whether he or she is in Australia, our heart is with Cyprus because we are all Turkish Cypriots from Cyprus.
But you confused me. The question, what is the difference between the conflict of Ukraine and Russia? And I'm not sure if I understood.
I don't think there is a similarity. I don't think there is a similarity.
Why?
I think Ukrainians...
What is the difference then, if there is no similarity? The fundamental difference.
The fundamental difference, Ukraine is a different country. They got stuck between the Europeans and the Americans and the Russians. The Russians, for their own security, they wanted Crimea and other places in Ukraine with their own security and militaristic ambitions. And obviously...
Like Turkey.
Russia. No, Turkey had no such plan. Turkey came in 1974.
With similar reasons they came.
Turkey came here to protect the interests of Turkish Cypriots because Turkey is a guarantor power and the motherland of Turkish Cypriots. Turkey never had any vision or idea to invade another country. It's not an invasion. It's just an intervention to protect the Turkish Cypriots.
But this is what just the Russians say as well. They invade you, they have an intervention, whatever military intervention, to take care of the minorities, the Russian, the Russophiles. And all. This is exactly what they say. I'm just saying it. But this is exactly what Russia say about the.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I don't agree with that. I'm telling you.
But this is what they say. The same thing.
I don't agree with that. Look, Turkish Cypriots are essential because when you look at the history, okay, the Greeks increased in number during the British times. Having said that, I respect it, but we have at the end of the day two peoples. And when the British moved out, this constitution was designed and it was a co-partnership. Turkish Cypriots, Greek Cypriots, together. There is no majority, no minority. When you talk about Ukraine, you got the Ukrainians, and some Russians living in Crimea and other regions. That is majority-minority relationship, according to me. It's Ukraine. Here, we are talking about a common country. The Republic of Cyprus that was founded in 1960 belonged to both communities, both peoples, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. Turkish Cypriots were as sovereign as Greek Cypriots. You didn't have more sovereignty than a Turkish Cypriot. You see, this is very important. This is very important.
Yeah, but
the concept of sovereignty is critical.
But the same in the Donbas regions of Ukraine as well.
No. To understand the Cyprus problem, you have to understand the concept of sovereignty. And that's where we have not been able to have a consensus because Greek Cypriots, although they signed it, look, it's very important. I will remind you, I can show you. You have Dr. Fadıl Küçük's signature, you have Makarov's signature in the 1960 agreement. Nobody forced him. He, in London and Zurich, he signed for the Greek Cypriots. And Dr. Fadıl Küçük signed for the Turkish Cypriots. So we build it together, co-ownership. How can you then push this out and say, this is mine? That's what happened to the Turkish Cypriots. We were pushed out, Dr. Fadıl Küçük and his team, and us, we were pushed out, and the Republic of Cyprus only for the Greek Cypriots. And the Republic of Cyprus in the south at the moment is the Republic of Cyprus that was founded in 1960.
Okay, let's move a bit to more foreign policy. Turkey. What's your relationship with Turkey? What's your relationship with Erdogan? Do you love him? Do you meet him often? Do you speak with him often? Tell us.
Erdogan is a great world leader, as you can see. Obviously, we are lucky that he thinks very highly of the Turkish Cypriots. Obviously, for political reasons, he has opponents and the others who think otherwise. But in the last 22 years that he is in power,
A lot of years.
22 years, Turkish Cypriots have never seen before so much aid, help, and protection from anybody else. Because he has been in power for so long, he has been very generous. This project that has brought in the water, it's at least $1 billion with current cost, probably more than $1 billion. We have got all these new roads, we have got new hospitals, we have got a lot of investments in hotels, universities. If you go and see our industrial sites, we have a lot of factories, a lot of plants. And with now, I don't know whether you heard, in May we had this Technofest festival, where we had
Yes, he came.
thousands of people, and Selçuk Bayraktar, the leader, said, now we are going to do our best, push that we kind of bring in technology to North Cyprus. And hopefully that North Cyprus will also be a successful technology center. Very important. Tourism, universities, being a financial center, being a technology center. All these have been created by Erdogan's vision, because Erdogan believes that the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, as an independent Turkish state, should be more and more strengthened, should be a hope for the future. Obviously for the sake of Turkish Cypriots, but also for Turkish military and economic interests of the region. Because when you look at the map, Turkey has got 2,000 kilometers from the east to the west, İskenderun to Kuşadası. 2,000 kilometers. The longest coastline to the eastern Mediterranean is with Turkey. All the other countries have less. And obviously, with the new concepts like geostrategic, geopolitics, they say, and the airspace, the Turkish Cypriot state in the north is of critical value to us and to Turkey because of the seas around, with energy potential, and with the interest in the sea with regard to militaristic and economic and other interests, and the sea, aerospace, very important. So when you look at the history of Cyprus, I believe Cyprus has never been as important as it is now. Cyprus at the moment is its highest value in terms of status, because this region is very important. I believe, and I am told, that 70% of the world trade goes through near Cyprus, Eastern Mediterranean, from the Far East, Suez Canal, all the ships and vessels, energy, and the other business potential go through around Cyprus, Limassol, maybe the Kyrenia, and go to Europe. So critical. I mean, the middle of the world, as it were. Look at the map. It's the center of the world, Cyprus. So important, so critical. Only 3 hours to mainland Europe, maybe 2.5 hours. Only 2.5 hours into the Middle East, and well connected with everywhere. If we have a peace on the island, stable political settlement, with Turkish support, with European support, with the potential that we have with the Middle East and the Europeans, this island would, I am sure, very short time could surpass Dubai and other business centers. It can flourish. It can be so prosperous that we will forget all the things that we suffered in the past. We will forget it all.
Whenever you have a problem, you call Erdogan?
If it's important, because he is the leader of Turkey. Turkey has 86 million, 10 million in Europe. We have got 96 million Turkish citizens, and the other important things that he has to do.
So how often do you call him?
Maybe a month.
Once a month.
Once a month. Yeah.
And whatever big problem you have, he tries to help.
He tries to help. Thank you. I respect him for that. Yes. Look at these buildings.
It's a huge building.
I
It's a huge
proposed to him when he visited me 4.5 years ago. I said, look, this is a colonial house and we are not, you know,
Very few people inside.
we can't do our job here now. And it was raining that day. And he came with 3 planes with hundreds of people and they couldn't come in because it's just 2 rooms. And he said to me, it's about time that, you know, we build a new thing, a new building for the presidential office. And then I found this land and he helped. It took a long time, but there you are. We got this park down the road,
So-
parliament, high court, presidential palace, and you can see, I mean, this is historical monuments now. This will be here for ages. It's a landmark.
So how, but Erdogan's view in the long run, it changed because he supported the Annan plan at one point. And
But
like,
he-
and like, how do you feel that he evolved his
I
views?
obviously discussed in the past with him. I said I was opposed to the plan. You supported the plan. He told me, yes, I supported the plan. I discussed it with Annan and the others. I said to him, most of the others not now in politics. They've gone. New people came, but I'm still here after 22 years. And he told me that they all let him down. Because
They all let him
They all
down.
let him down because they promised him that if Greek Cypriots were to say no to the plan, they told him, look, make sure that Turkish Cypriots yes to the plan. He said, I did my work. I did a lot of hard work.
What work? You mean
Because Denktaş was opposed to the plan. Turkey got involved and gave a message to the Turkish Cypriots that the best way forward would be to say yes to the plan.
we can talk about later the power of Turkey that has to
65% said yes. Obviously, it's important, the message that comes. But he was promised by the Europeans that if the Turkish Cypriots say yes, no matter what the Greek Cypriots do, if they were to say no, then the embargoes and isolations, restrictions on Turkish Cypriots will be lifted. Look, can you tell me that anything has been lifted on Turkish Cypriots? It's been 20 years and we don't have direct flights. We don't have direct trade. We don't have direct contacts. We are not recognized. So he told me, President Erdogan told me that they let him down very badly. They promised him and he went his outer way to give this message to Turkish people to say that, yes. And then he also promised, and we were all let down. Turkish people were let down and Erdogan was let down.
So that's why you think he's shifting towards the support of a two-state solution.
After the Annan plan, there were a lot of other engagements. Mr. Talat, who was obviously in favor of the Annan plan with his party, he did a lot of work. After the Annan plan, there was other arrangements, never worked out. And then with Akıncı, in 2017, there was Crans-Montana meetings, a lot of meetings to find a way forward. Guterres worked very hard with Turkey and others. Boris Johnson was there in Crans-Montana.
Yes.
By the way, I went to see him in London last week. I met Boris Johnson and he did tell me the number of days he spent at Crans-Montana, but miserably failed because he also thought that Greek Cypriots wouldn't.
Also Erdogan, you think, was supporting also
Yes.
Crans-Montana?
Yes, but after Crans-Montana, they said,
What was this?
the game is over. They said
you
the game is
explain?
over. So
They said, fuck this shit.
they said the game is over. And obviously, I was watching from outside. I said, now it's about time to bring this new policy on the table, two-state solution. And then I did that. I won the election. And it's been, look, nearly 5 years. We are trying to understand, to explain this two-state policy to the world. And by and large, we have done it. Now,
What you done? No,
everybody
no,
knows.
you didn't done it. Come on.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows that there are two states in Cyprus.
Who everybody knows? You mean Turkey?
Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Turkish Cypriots have their own state. Greek Cypriots have their own state. When I discuss this with leaders and other people of influence, they tell me, yes, we understand, we sympathize, Turkish Cypriots have been treated unjustly. A lot of double standards, but we hope that you will find this political settlement with the Greek Cypriots. But to them, I tell them, Greek Cypriots are a recognized state because of the 1964 decision in the Security Council, 61 years ago, 4th of March 1964, that decision. That decision was taken, Republic of Cyprus became a pure Greek republic, expecting that in a few years' time there would be a solution to the problem, but we still don't have a solution after 61 years. So, the way that the Turkish Cypriots have been treated is so unfair. So unfair, I keep telling them, and they understand. But they say, unfortunately, not much we can do. The two people, Greek Cypriot and Turkish, should somehow find an agreement. How are you going to find an agreement? Because your understanding of federalism is so different to our understanding. I mean, over time, this has quite obviously been exposed. What has been exposed? Greek Cypriot understanding of federalism, especially in the European Union, is a unitary state. This is very important. You have to understand this. Greek Cypriot understanding of federalism in the European Union is a unitary state. No Turkish Cypriot, whatever his or her view, would support a unitary state, because all Turkish Cypriots, at the end of the day, yes, we all want a solution, but we have to have our own self-determination. Sovereignty right is your self-determination. You have to understand all this. Do you understand what I mean? You might not agree, but I hope you understand what I say.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you mean. So, a lot of people in the European Parliament, they say that I'm a puppet sometimes of Putin, because sometimes I support some of the stuff that Russia is saying. Sometimes they say that that we need to start diplomacy and solve the problem and not continue the war. Sometimes they say that I'm a puppet of Elon Musk because he reposted me on social media and all this stuff. A lot of the people say that you are a puppet of Erdogan. So what is your response
Right.
to this?
I keep telling these people and they don't understand me. Turkish Cypriots should know this two-state solution is my idea. Erdogan supported the Annan plan, you told me. And then at Crans-Montana, they were there for a federal republic. And I saw this, and I was the leader of the United National Party. And then when I became prime minister, I put in the protocol with Kudret Özersay, who was my coalition partner, two-state solution. And then with that two-state solution, a new policy, I won the presidential election, and I put it on the table, and Turkey, they discussed, and they said, okay, we will support this new policy. So how am I a puppet? My way of life, secularism, everything, I am what I am. I am what I was when I was a young man. If you look at my family, my way of life, whatever I do, I drink, I enjoy life, everything might be quite different to their way of life. But nobody interferes with my life. Nobody interferes with my life. I respect him, he respects me. But on national issues, we think together. We think the same thing. He thinks that the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, Turkish state should survive. I believe my state should survive. I also believe that Turkey is a motherland country, a guarantor power, and we should have respected relationship between Turkey and North Cyprus. That's what we have. Every year we have financial and economic package, and Turkey keeps helping the Turkish people because we are under embargoes and isolation, and therefore we don't generate enough income to meet the salaries and the investment that required to kind of progress with new hospitals, new roads, and other requirements. Because all the time this place is growing. As it grows, we need new investment in our roads, in our hospitals, in infrastructure, in our communications, the whole thing. And basically, we cooperate with motherland Turkey. We cooperate. We cooperate not only for economic progress welfare, but also for security. We are living in a critical world. We have danger from outside. Turkey, with her logistics, they have satellites, they have planes, they have all sorts of aircraft, and the ships around.
And
they
they're
protect.
the second biggest power in NATO.
Yes,
Okay.
they protect. They protect us.
But you don't agree.
You have to give me the credit. Yes, you understand?
Yeah,
and
I
we
understand,
Turkish
I understand.
Cypriots are living here in this critical part of the world, exposed to many risks, all enjoying Cyprus to the full. I tell this to my people, look, it's not so easy to be independent, to enjoy life, to have security, to have peace of mind. Why do we have all these virtues? Because Turkey is here with all the power that she has, with the satellites, with this and the other, and we are living in security.
But you are not independent.
I am independent.
But if someone pays for your bills and you are afraid for them to cut
This is reciprocal. Look, reciprocality.
What is reciprocal? I don't know this word.
Reciprocality. Yes, Turkey.
I'm stupid. I don't know this word.
Turkey looks after me as far as these things are concerned. But I am the owner of the land here in North Cyprus, Turkish Cypriots, and therefore we are very important for Turkey's own defense, military comfort, and other interests in the region, including the airspace, including the seas, and what we have on the land here. So it's a reciprocity.
So if you want to go against what Turkey say, you can go against?
Obviously, why should I go against? Why should I? I mean, they are not doing anything to challenge me. They are just helping me. Why should I be in a discussion point? There is no element. There is no reason to do that. There is no reason to do that. And it's just high politics. People here, the opposition, maybe for other interests, God knows what, they always want to show us as if we are being told from Turkey what to do, and we do only that. Whereas Turkey, whoever is in power, whether it be Tayyip Erdogan, whether it be the presidents and prime ministers before.
My friend, I'm not trying. You understand? It's logical question now. It's not like trying to do something. I'm just trying a logical question.
We have never had any reason. Anybody with a little bit of sensible Turkish Cypriot president or prime minister has no reason to fight with Turkey. Has no reason. Okay, sometimes with religious matters, the back expectation is that we have religious lessons at schools, for example. Okay, we are Muslims. We have to have some lessons. The other side of the story, you should have no lessons. You should not learn the religion. Because if you learn religion, then you go back. I don't respect that. Every child should learn some religion, and then whether she or he takes it further, it's up to him. Look at, I went to school in the UK. Every morning they had to go to the church. And I am sure that as a Greek Cypriot, you go to the church. And
I grew up in the church. So another question about this, you allow me?
Of course.
So you said that 2004, Erdogan supported Annan plan, and he did his magic tricks to convince with his power that he has.
But the people were
community.
The people have inclined.
So you think that if Turkey decides something, it has a lot of power to do it. So maybe they can decide, if they decide to support Dadar in the elections, they will support you. So they kind of decisive factor to whatever.
I'm sure they obviously wait and then act accordingly. During the Annan times, after Denktash, there was that kind of expectation that something should change. Because all these years, we have no solution. And Denktash Bey, our founding president, from the outside, it was seen as if he is the perpetrator. He is the reason why we have not had an agreement. Now, the history has shown to all of us that it wasn't him. It was the Greek Cypriot attitude that the island should be Hellenic and the Greek Cypriot element should always be overriding factor. That's why you said no to the Annan plan. You didn't want to share whatever was in the plan, which according to you was not enough. because of the sovereignty. It was partly sovereignty in the north, and over time that would have disappeared in the European Union. Now I told you this morning that I want to be in the European Union, but with a sovereign Turkish Cypriot element. If it's not sovereign, then I cannot participate in the European Union, because with a mild sovereignty, I would disappear over time. Okay. Do you understand what I said?
I understand. Let's go to an easy question. Do you like my president, Christodoulidis? What's your opinion about him?
As a person, of course I like him. I sit, I talk, I drink, whatever we do. I mean, he's a very nice chap, very modern man. Of course I like him. But when it comes to discussing the Cyprus problem, I've not had much chance of success. Even we couldn't open a gate. This Metehan gate gets so congested that my people have put a lot of pressure on me that we should do something about this. What can we do? Open another gate the other side of Nicosia, so that we share the traffic. Because a lot of people from Famagusta and the villages around that, they come here, they cross Nicosia to come here and go to the other side. And a lot of people from the Greek side, they come here and they go all the way to Famagusta or Carpathia. Let's open another gate. I call it Haspolat or Akıcılar Luricina. I have not been able to do that. I hope I can do it maybe next month. I don't know. So we have to do something to show people that we can do things together.
So you don't think he's cooperating with you?
He is not cooperating. I want him to cooperate though.
But he says also you are not cooperating with him.
Well, he wants me to sit to discuss the Cyprus problem. I said to him, I have a new policy, and new policy, this sovereignty element. If you accept my sovereign equality, I will discuss the Cyprus problem at length in a serious, formal content. But unless you do that, there is no point, I say, because it's all been exhausted. Before, it's been done before, and we got nowhere. So there is no meaning to repeat all that, because it's all been done before. So let's move forward. And the Secretary General, when he called us in 2001, nearly 4 years ago, to Geneva, he said, come with a new vision. This is the Secretary General Guterres, because he lived through the Crans-Montana, and he saw there how it failed, which Jack Straw, the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, makes statements from now and again that it was a disaster, and that the Greek Cypriots should not have been allowed into the European Union unless there was a settlement. And Boris Johnson said something similar to me last week when I met him in the UK, that it's all been exhausted and we have to try something else. And this something else is, okay, a two-state solution, as you call it, but underneath is the sovereignty of the Turkish Cypriots. If you accept, if you recognize, which is something from international agreements, 1960 agreement, Annan Plan, we had a referendum right. That referendum right in itself is also an element of self-determination. Why did they give us a referendum right to say yes or no? Because we are sovereign people. And to capitalize on that, I have now enjoyed bringing a new policy on the table, which, okay, a lot of countries have not recognized it yet, but at least they know what I'm after, that this sovereignty element of the whole thing is so crucial to the Turkish Cypriots. This is what you have to understand. Sovereignty element to the Turkish Cypriots, very important.
If you don't agree on the fundamentals, because you don't seem that you agree, you disagree with me, with him, so you disagree on the fundamentals.
We have to have a common ground to move forward. Common ground.
There is no common
We don't have a common ground at the moment.
So all these kind of attempts, you think is waste of time?
Well, nothing is a waste of time. You know what I've told him? Look, we have to get on. We have to be positive. I said to Maria Holgin, she was sitting here, look, our responsibility is to build a bridge between the past and the future, to build a bridge. We have to be talking to each other. We have to be cooperating on the matters that we can cooperate. I have 12 technical committees here, and I heard a lot of criticism from my side. What's the point of talking about technical committees? Technical, criminal matters, historical heritage, health, economy, commerce, earthquake, how we can cooperate if there's an earthquake. I hope not. how we can cooperate. Now we have established a youth committee. You heard about this youth
Yes,
committee?
Ibrahim is inside the...
Ibrahim, I took Ibrahim, a popular man. And it's doing very well. They are meeting, they are talking, they are having their own enjoyments, whatever. I think it's been good. So that is another constructive something that we have done. It's constructive, positive. So it is our responsibility to talk. We might disagree, but we should talk. Because we are at the moment, what we are doing is basically keeping the bridge stable. The bridge between the past and the future. It's our responsibility to keep this bridge.
So you are trying to keep the bridge open, but we disagree on the fundamentals, so it's difficult to move forward.
Talking, even this program is of value.
It's a big value.
It's a value because this is being recorded. It will be there forever. What I said, something might be very meaningful, something might be very positive. Maybe most of it will go down. However, even if I have said one or two ideas that's positive, that's something. We have to keep going for future generations. Even if we will not have the opportunity to enjoy a solution now, I say enjoy. If I were able to be part of a solution, I would enjoy. I would be the happiest man on earth. But I have my principles. Unless I manage to get a success out of my principles for my own people, there is no meaning to sign a settlement which will not last. What is important? The agreement that you sign, the settlement should be lasting, should be sustainable.
Yes.
Because in 1960, obviously it was kind of
3
forced. 3 years.
Fall apart.
And it became more trouble. Disruption. If it's not sustainable, it can lead to disruption. It can lead to even heavier headaches. So we have to be very responsible.
So you know, Russia has a lot of embargoes, let's say, sanctions, we call them, from the European Union, from the United States, blah, blah, blah. And the last 3 years since the war started, Russia became stronger. I want to talk a bit about the sanctions that you have. So can you explain me, these sanctions, do you think they force you to the arms of Turkey? Do you think these sanctions are making it problematic? What do you think about this?
Sanctions, first.
That you became stronger? Do you think you are weaker because of the sanctions? Because it's different to have sanctions in a superpower like is Russia, and it's different to have sanctions. I'm sorry, but you are not as powerful as, as Putin.
As far as we are concerned, the most important, not having direct flights. If we were to have direct flights to the north, tourism and other sectors would have prospered much more. At the moment, we have to go through Turkey. They have to land at Istanbul or Izmir or Antalya, change the flight. It's extra cost and another 2 hours. So some people go through Larnaca, some people don't come. Some people lose this time and extra cost.
And
so
20% of our GDP is the tourism, so it's a bit important.
So it's a big problem for us. We don't have direct rate for our halimi, for our oranges, for our halloumi, whatever we sell outside, it has to go through Turkish ports. We have to go through Turkish customs and then send it again, so extra cost, so we cannot compete, so we cannot obviously expand our trade prospects. So a lot of obviously restrictions. And the other thing that is very frustrating, our young people cannot participate in official sports. Single, some of them become member of the Turkish team with the Turkish flag. Some
recently, this in the Olympics, someone,
but with the Turkish team. Not as a Turkish team. No Turkish team, football team has been able to play a formal match even with the Turkish team. So a lot of frustration for our young people. That is another.
So this is the
drawback.
Three biggest
of
things.
Course, not having direct trade, not having direct flight, and not being able as Turkish Cypriots to, for example, me as a president, whether they recognize or not, they respect, and the United Nations, they call me the leader of the Turkish Cypriots. As a leader of the Turkish Cypriots, I'm not able to meet all these people because of the restrictions, because unfortunately.
So you think
Greek
they are
Cypriots-
somehow effective or not effective?
Greek Cypriots,
to
because-
put pressure.
Greek Cypriots, because you are a recognized state, even if I am going to a TV channel in London, they ring, your ambassador there would ring this TV channel saying, don't put him on the show because he is supposed to be a leader in occupied territory. So they ring me in the morning and say, program cancelled. They go to that extent to have me sanctioned. Believe you me, unbelievable. Whereas my view is that you should let me free, do whatever I can.
Of
You should-
course you are.
You should let the Turkish Cypriots prosper. Listen to me. You should let the Turkish Cypriots prosper.
But
You should
then,
let the
we're-
Turkish Cypriots
then
do
the,
whatever.
the argument is that we're going to lose leverage in tool to put some pressure to have a unification.
You gave it the answer to yourself. Because we have not been able to prosper as much as we could have done, that means that we are more integrated with Turkey.
Yes.
That's how it works.
We're pushing you to the hands of Turkey.
Of course. Whereas if we were successful and our economy became independent and we can meet all our expenses, our salaries, our hospitals, our roads, and we had budget surplus, that would have given us the confidence to discuss with you more comfortably, more strongly, a future settlement in Cyprus. You understand what I say? I'm sure you understand.
I'm
what
not
I-
sure if
You
this
understand.
how it
You
works.
understand what I say, yes. You are a very clever man, you understand what I say. Yes.
So let's move a bit more in the fun conversation.
And
Then-
obviously, Turkey, I want my Turkish Cypriots, young people, to stay in the country, right? When I go to London,
we're
for
also losing them.
even if you are losing, can you imagine? Can you imagine? A lot of Turkish people, talent, very clever. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, science people, technology people. From this Turkish people community, we have a lot of success stories in the past and now currently in a number of brilliant young boys and girls. Absolutely, I'm proud of all of them. Most of them, they try Turkey first because Turkey is a prospering country. Istanbul, Izmir, big businesses and all that stuff. And they find good jobs. Some go to London, some go to America. This is, they say, fate of every island because the island is limited. Even fully recognized republic in the south, a European member, and you said you even have difficulty keeping your brilliant young people because there's competition. The high salaries, other challenges, opportunities. They go. It's even harder for us to keep these people here because of this problem. So what I'm telling you, if our Greek Cypriot friends were a bit more generous to Turkish Cypriots and we could progress here and prosper, then we will be able to keep more of our young, brilliant people here, which in the future would help us to secure a sustainable agreement for the good of all of us.
What is your salary as a leader of the Turkish Cypriot community?
You see, with inflation, it changes every day.
Every day your salary changes. So you are not going to tell us
I told you.
around roughly monthly.
About 5,000.
5,000?
4 to 5,000
Euros.
Euros.
Euros. Okay. And where do you spend your money? This is simple question. Just people not only interested about politics, they are interested to know you.
At my age, I'm giving it to my daughter. To my daughter.
You
I have
give
two
it to your
daughters.
daughter?
Two daughters, yes.
So you don't spend your money.
I don't
you
know.
give them.
My wife takes the money at house. We pay the electricity. I live in my house. I don't live here. I live in a house. I have a house in Kyrenia.
But you could live here. if
I
you
don't
want.
live here. I live in my house. Obviously, it costs a lot of money to live in a house nowadays. So I don't know where it goes, but to the family. All my money goes to my family.
To your family. Do you like your life now? Do you like the life that you are living?
I enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I do. If you don't enjoy what you do, life becomes difficult. I enjoy what I do. Every morning I go and walk
So you don't
with my
care
dog
about
every
all
morning.
this criticism, all this pressure. You say,
This social media, okay, I don't look at it so much.
you don't look at it.
I look at the pictures and I just press
Why?
the button.
It's so
If you
very
read-
toxic.
You look at the picture. If you read the comments below, it makes you crazy. So I don't read those comments below.
You don't read the comments. of the
No.
people.
Everybody writes something. I don't read them. If you keep reading them,
You go crazy.
you go crazy.
You know, as well, I don't read them. I need to admit to you because, like, we are not evolved to read all these negative comments.
Why should I read them?
But it's good to have some feedback
If it's
loop.
important, my advisors tell me what have been said.
Can you tell me about your philosophy about as a leader for your team? Like, what do you look in your team? Like, I met a couple of your team. They seem cool, but how do you motivate people to work for you? How do you
They
attract
find me.
talent?
How do you find this energy? You work nearly 24 hours. You work even when you are sleeping. You work. They know because at 3 o'clock I message for. Where do you find this energy? So if you work, if you can show to your people that you are full of energy, you want to do things, you want to be successful, you want to perform, you want to be successful, then they follow you. If you have no energy and you've given up and you give the impression that we lost everything and there's no point in working and doing things, then nobody will work for you. So as a leader, it's up to you to motivate
have
people.
the energy and motivate people.
You have to motivate people by being energetic, by being positive and demonstrate to them that we will achieve things together. Teamwork, spirit, team spirit.
So this summer, what are your plans? Are you going to hammam? Are you going to spa, sauna? What are...
Don't you follow me? Every morning, wherever I am, whether I am here, whether I am in Istanbul, whether I am in London, New York, every morning, at the latest, 6:30, usually it's 6 o'clock or 6:45, I go out walking, wherever I am. I go at least an hour walking here in Kyrenia. I walk with my dog, Shiva. Then I come home, I open the TV, I am on the cycle, about half an hour, watching the TV and reading something, cycling. And then I go to the pool.
Pool?
Every morning.
You swim?
Yes, half an hour. And then I have my shower and come to work. Every morning I do this. So this keeps me healthy at my age.
Okay, and then you
And-
work until what time?
Very late. Obviously, I mean,
Depends.
in my job, working doesn't mean, writing reports. I'm around, working, talking to people, socializing, attending events, giving speeches. And
What is your favorite part about your job? Is like putting the foreign policy? Is like speaking with the people? Is like I don't know, living in all this luxury lifestyle?
luxury.
What is the?
I don't have a luxury life.
Come on, this is luxury stuff.
What I mean, going to, in Cyprus we have new hotels. Every night we have concerts here and there. I can't go to such concerts because a lot of people there, they would say that he's enjoying, he's having drinks and all the rest of it. So I keep away.
So
I
you
go to-
want to go, but you don't go so
don't.
for people
I
not
don't
to say bad things.
I was the manager of Show TV in Istanbul for 10 years. And high society, entertainment, everything, I was there. I've done all that. Now I have to be, as a leader, example. Being an example means you have to be a common man. Why I have been elected so many years? Because I've been a people. They call me
People's man.
people's man. This is very important. So I go to the basic village restaurant. I enjoy that because I have there my people. And I sit, talk, I eat, I drink with them and become one of them. This is very important. And I enjoy this. If you ask me what I enjoy that, I enjoy in a village restaurant with my people, having a drink with them, talking and being with them in that environment makes them so happy that I am so happy. This, look, the answer to the question is, if I make me and my common people happy, then I am even happier.
This is the best politician answer that you can give.
That makes me, you take me to this Makrisva concert with all these beautiful environment, whatever. My people would say, look, he has distance from us. He's not one of us. When you go there, you are not one of them. Because that is 5% of the population. I'm within 95%.
Okay.
I am always preferring to be within 95% in my job, and that's what I have been successful.
So, you know, my community, the Greek Cypriot community, they don't like you as much as
They don't know me. They don't know
leaders.
me.
Like
If your community got to know me, they will like me even more than I can assure you of that. I can assure you of that. Look,
now they are listening.
I can assure you
they are
that
listening.
if they got to know me, if they had the chance to meet me and discuss with me and have a few drinks and somewhere to talk and get to know me, I am sure that they will like, because I'm sincere. I'm sincere. I've never said anything.
You are.
I've
You are.
never said anything that I don't believe. Some of these people who apparently they like, they have not been honest. They have not been honest. They came, I will find the problem, to solve the problem in 3 months. How many of them they came? They've not been able to find a solution. Because it's all been done before. It's all been done before. So we have to have a new page. We have to have a new policy. We have to have a new vision. But understand each other. Reciprocate somehow. Find a way.
So now you are speaking there to the Greek
Find a way.
Cypriots.
Find a way.
Speak to them.
Find a way to communicate. Find a way to understand each other. Find a way to make a success out of all this that we have had. But bearing in mind what we have suffered in the past, to build a future for our children, for our grandchildren, in this beautiful island where we can prosper, we can share. With all the things going around, so critical in this geography, we can all be much more happier. Not only in terms of resources, getting richer, more money. Not only that, but also security. Being able to coexist, being able to respect, being able to care for each other. I would like to be in that position where I care to the Greek Cypriots and their children and their grandchildren. As a responsible grown-up man with so much experience, with what I've gone through, with all the things that have brought me to my age, with all the thinking up here, I would like to share all these resources together to coexist for the better of all of us. And believe you me, I'm sincere in what I say.
And now I want your advice. If I want to be a member of the European Parliament, how you suggest for me to be useful for the Turkish Cypriots, because they are Cypriot. So what is your advice?
Well, obviously, my advice would be to be careful, because you are a Greek Cypriot, and I respect that you are a Greek Cypriot and you are a successful young man. So you have to think of the criticism that you might get if you push yourself too much. So it will take time. However,
I'm sure I will get a lot of credit for this podcast, as you understand.
That's right. So what you can do in Europe is basically ask the Europeans, for example, me, they should invite me as the leader of the Turkish to Brussels to discuss with me what is going on. I've never met them. I've never been invited to Brussels. I met few junior people, but I am the president. Whether you recognize me or not, there is a people called Turkish Cypriots. And Turkish Cypriots, through their democratic system, elected me as the president. So if they meet Christodoulos, they should also meet me, so that I have the opportunity to tell them my position, to explain to them the current situation and my thinking of the future. They don't meet me.
Impossible task you are asking me. Impossible
You
task.
ask me,
I ask you, you answer.
as a member of the European Union Parliament, you can tell them, to open a new page for these Turkish Cypriots, who, even according to them, would be in a future settlement, be an equal partner in a federal republic. If we are going to be an equal partner in a future federal republic, why not from now be given the opportunity to discuss, to talk from my own mouth, from the horse's mouth, our expectations?
So you agreed to see me today.
Of course.
How was your experience? What did you imagine, and why
I am very
did you
happy.
had fun, and why did you agree?
I am very happy. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, because I know that you have very high and important followers. This has given me the opportunity to say something to them about my thinking, about my position, and about my expectations and what my plans are. So I take this opportunity, and I'm very happy that you are here. Thank you very much.
I always ask a question in the end. So, first of all, before I ask the last question, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you because this unfiltered podcast that I was not going to edit.
I hope
stuff.
it was recorded.
Yes,
Well.
it was recorded, and this unfiltered podcast is a difficult spot to have raw conversation with. I know I will send you some prepared questions, but we didn't ask anything from that.
Yes.
This is just, but to have a conversation is difficult, especially for a leader to take this. It needs guts.
Yeah.
So,
I have guts.
So thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. And the last question is: you are going to die in 30 seconds. No, I'm not going to kill you. But if you die in 30 seconds, what do you want your last seconds in this planet? What do you want to say to the people if you actually die?
Turkish Cypriots, stick to your sovereignty.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching us until then. Have a great day. Bye-bye.